Hey guys, so a really interesting topic over the years has been fuel economy on a car like this. And specifically what I'm talking about is, you got several different engine options, right? And a lot of guys will go and get the V6 engine in a car like this, whether it be a Challenger or even a Mustang or something else. But let's talk about Challengers today, since that's what we've got here. Guys will go get the V6 engine in something like this and they'll say, well, I don't want a gas hog. I need to be able to get some fuel efficiency and afford to drive the thing. I don't want to be putting gas in it every day, right? That's kind of the excuse to go get the V6 engine. Well, I've had every iteration naturally aspirated, mind you, of the Challenger. And so I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, come to think of it, I really haven't seen much difference in fuel economy between the three naturally aspirated Challengers that I've had. I had that 3.6 Pentastar and then the 5.7 Hemi and now the 6.4 Hemi, and they're all pretty much the same, right? So I decided to go and actually look, because over the last 15 years or more, I've been tracking my fuel economy every tank with this website called fuely.com, where you can actually put in your odometer information and how many gallons you put back in the car, and it'll do all the actual math for you and keep track of that for you. And it'll give you some stats on how much you're spending per mile and all that kind of stuff too. But anyway, I've been doing that for years, and so I've got actual concrete data on all three of the naturally aspirated engines that you could get when these cars were on sale. So I'm going to show this to you because I think it's pretty interesting, and if you're looking at buying a used Challenger and you're trying to decide which engine to go with, this might be some pretty interesting information. So check this out. All right, so in real time here, I have pulled up my fuely.com website, my personal page here, and I'm going to show you the three different Challengers that I have personally owned and my personal average MPG on them. Now, this is the first Challenger that I ever owned. You can see a picture of it here. It was the beautiful Torrid color. It was an SXT with the Pentastar V6, 3.6 liter V6, 305 horsepower, and I put over 5,000 miles, I think almost 6,000 miles on that car before I traded it in. And my average MPG lifetime with that car was 20.6 MPG. You can see right here. And then the last Challenger that I owned was a RT Classic. So obviously now you're going to the 5.7 liter V8. And I put several thousand miles on that one and had a lifetime average, you can see down here, of 19.2. Okay, so 20 and a half on the V6 basically, and a little over 19. So this is we'll call it 1.5 MPG difference between the V8 and the V6. All right, so now I've got the 392 Hemi, and I haven't filled this thing up very much. I've got a few fill-ups under my belt so far. I will continue to track this, but so far this one is getting 21.1 MPG, and obviously this is the big V8. Now, I will say, to be fair, the one difference is this car right here is a 6-speed manual, and both of the previous cars I just showed you were the automatic transmission. All right, so we all know manual automatic can sometimes make a little bit of a difference in fuel economy. And my driving routine with all of these cars has always been the same. I've had the same driving routine every week for the last 23 years. The same job. It's about a 35 minute drive one way to and from work. A lot of highway, but also some stoplights, and sometimes I hit drive-throughs for lunch or whatever. So I do a roughly 50-50 split of city and highway. So just to let you know what my driving is like. Every once in a while I might get on it a little bit, but I don't abuse my cars. So anyway, you can see, I think, here very clearly, and this number right here, this 21, will go down over time, but you can see that you're not losing that much fuel economy, if any, when you go to the V8, which is kind of the point here. Now, like I said, I've only filled this new car up a few times. As the summer wears on, this average I expect will come down some. But generally what I'm seeing is 20 to 21 miles per gallon with this thing, even on the dash display from week to week. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing knock down about 20 miles per gallon average. You know, the RT was at 19 with the auto trans. This one probably going to hit about 20. I expect it to settle in around 20 with the manual trans. You know, and so you go back over here again to the V6 car, and it was only at 20 and a half. So again, the whole point here is just to say, you know, a lot of people think the V6 is going to save you gas. Not really the case. You got to have horsepower and torque, especially to move these cars around, and the less stress your engine has on it, the lower the RPMs can be, and the more gas you can save.
Well, yeah, obviously there's more to a purchase and an ownership experience than just miles per gallon, right? You've got insurance costs and things like that to consider also. But, you know, like I said, I thought this was some interesting information. You know, if you're shopping these cars on the used market, I guess they'll all pretty much be on the used market at this point, because inventory on the brand new ones is almost gone now. But anyway, if you're looking for a used Challenger and you're just trying to decide what engine to get, and if fuel economy happens to be a big deal to you because you're planning on using it for a daily driver, you might want to skip the V6, because you're not gaining any significant fuel economy at all, but you're giving up a lot of fun and a lot of the experience of owning a muscle car, in my opinion. You know, you just can't replace that feel and that sound of a cold start on a Hemi V8. You know, I start this thing up in the morning and it just rattles and shakes you in the seat, you know, and you hear the growl, and then, you know, you're rolling through the gears going down the highway, listening to that sweet song of the Hemi V8. I mean, you just can't replace that with a V6. You just can't, you know. And like I said, my first Challenger was a V6. I bought that car because at that time, it was $3,000 less expensive than stepping up to an RT. I looked at several dealerships in the area, and I decided that I just didn't want to go $3,000 more dollars. And, you know, I drove that car for almost 6,000 miles, and I regretted it the whole time. I was like, why didn't I just get the RT? You know, I mean, I knew it, but I mean, you're talking $60 a month on your payment. And the car would have been so much more enjoyable if I had just gotten the RT to start with. But anyway, eventually I did get an RT, and then I always lusted after the 392 Hemi when it came out. You got to draw the line somewhere. I can't afford a Hellcat or a Demon, so you got to draw the line somewhere. I love this car right here. It's a whole lot of fun. And as you can see, even this one's still pretty fuel efficient. But anyhow, I'm going to stop rambling. The point of the video, as you can see, is just that these things do not drink gasoline. 20 miles per gallon in a car like this, that's pretty awesome if you ask me. So anyhow, hopefully this is interesting to you, maybe even helpful to you if you're shopping. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.